I'm kidding. Only kidding.
Bookmarks.
Aaron, I don't know whether to or whether not to bring up the Reds and get you riled up.
It's up to you. I mean, if you
14-0, man.
yeah, it's just
Josh. I went to the game on Friday.
I saw because
4-28
of the money line. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I texted you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, easiest money I've ever made.
yeah.
I should have gone an alternative line.
Yeah.
Because you can change it. And like, it was only like Brewers minus 1.5. I mean, 14. Clearly, I could have taken like a 9.5.
Yeah.
Point
I will say,
spread.
and this is something we could probably do off podcast. Hello, YouTube, though.
Yeah, hello, YouTube. This is what you get for being here.
Did I save it? Hold on. Let's see. Ted Cruz was at the A&M game.
Didn't I send that to you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You did. Okay.
Because I was like, I feel great about my pick now. I feel great.
That's the other money line. Gosh darn it.
I felt great about my pick. Those were my two best picks of the whole weekend. Like, basically, I was like, oh, clearly, like Notre Dame will win.
Thanks, Ted Cruz.
You know what? Hey,
Thank you, Ted.
Speaking of benefits of getting onto the YouTube channel, can you guys give me where's my car? 2 minutes. I'll be right back. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's worth it.
You waited long enough for me. So, I know what he's got to get.
Otherwise, I'm set up and ready to go.
I know the prop he needs.
I'm excited. Oh, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes. He absolutely needs to wait. Oh, those doors are very cool.
Yeah. I had no idea those open like that.
Yeah, no idea. YouTube, again, you're getting, here's all the bonus content.
Yeah, this is everything.
Josh's bedroom doors. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. Hope you guys are doing well. By the way, I think coming soon to YouTube, we are just throwing this out here as a not even a warning. That sounds like it's bad. It's not meant to be bad. We are monetized on this channel, so you may see an ad pop up if you don't already. You may see an ad pop up from time to time. We're going to do our best to make those ads pop up, especially for the live audience when we're not actively talking about something. Like, it'll be a natural break in the podcast. So just throwing that out there, letting you guys know that may be coming. Partially because I actually don't think we have a ton of control over that when YouTube plays ads in the live stream now. I don't know if that's true or not, but we're figuring that out. So YouTube listeners especially, bear with us as we figure some of those things out. But as always, we thank you for being here. For anyone that's joining us live, there's a lot of people that just watch the show afterwards right here. We appreciate you guys doing that as well. So, yeah. All right, I think I'm good to go once Josh is.
How far away could have this prop been?
I don't know.
I would have thought it would have been right there.
Yeah.
Maybe it was in his car.
Yeah, maybe so.
But if it was in his car, it might have melted.
Yep.
Not because the item in question is really meltable, but anything is in that Texas heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, it's a wonder Josh is still with us after that. I mean, I know it was a night game, but still.
It was hotter than it was in Cincinnati, and I feel like I almost died.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm following. I haven't had time to follow anything except myself. There's too much. Oh, is life so hard, Mr. Sire over there? Mr. Dramatic.
I'm excited.
I'm speaking to our mascot, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Mascot Archer. All right.
All right, I'm good to go.
All right, I'll hit record. Check.
Check. And I'm in.
All right. Welcome to the show. Listeners, thanks for being here. YouTube audience, thanks for being here as well. I know a bunch of you check the show out either live or replay. Both are available on YouTube. We appreciate you. I say listeners, some of you are watchers, which that sounds weird without context, but that's what you are. Thank you for being here. Gentlemen, it's good to be back with you as well. It is Aaron, it is Josh, it is Johnny. We are all here. And I can speak for all of us that we all, because, you know, if you're the first time here, we all typically share how our weeks are going. We're going to do that again. But I know that all of us have had collective college football experiences, not just because we had week 1 this weekend, but because we each individually got to go to our very own games. Josh might have the most exciting revelation of them all. Josh, do you want to share how your week was and what game you potentially attended? Let's go.
Well, howdy. It was a beautiful, beautiful eve of football here, gentlemen. I don't have a Texas drawl, but this is the best that'll do. For those of you not on YouTube, I have right here on my head my very own foam SMU cowboy hat.
It's beautiful.
It is foam. It is open on the top.
It lets you breathe.
What? They couldn't even make the whole thing a hat. Come on.
Listen, hold on. I'm going to read the character
SMU's
for a
not
sec.
supposed to be cheap. Like that makes no sense. They shouldn't be cheap. They're not taking any money from the ACC. Like they're anything but cheap.
I agree. And it was a $2 ticket, so I'm not going to complain too much.
Fair enough.
Also,
Fair enough.
real quick, I realize that SMU is not the football school, theoretically, of the ACC.
They will be at this
They
rate.
will be. There was only like a 75% attendance. Student section was full. Everything else, I'm like, guys, I realize it's Houston Christian, but it was a beautiful night. Just go out to the game. It's fine.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. SMU beat Houston Christian. They had a 2-quarterback system that seemed to work for them. I don't know if they were trying out quarterbacks, but both were fine. I think I preferred one over the other. I'm forgetting his name.
Preston
Everyone loved
Stone,
him in the
probably.
back.
Or did you
No,
like the
everyone
other
loved
guy?
Kevin. I think everyone
okay.
loves Kevin.
Nice.
At least in my row, all the guys would just scream every time Kevin came out. I don't know his last name. I'm so
great.
sorry.
Don't need,
But they would
you
do
don't
it
need
every
to
time
know.
Preston came out. Yeah.
Okay.
So they may have been friends of his. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is $2 for a foam hat. That new ACC logo on the field, both of them. Gosh darn it, I don't like it. I was sending pictures to the guys on at least the south end of the stadium. There were flags of like SMU and some of their various things they've won, but then there was flags of every ACC member. And it's just weird seeing like, you know, Syracuse, Duke, NC State, Cal, Stanford. And I'm like, this is stupid. I hate all of this. I hate everything about this.
Yeah.
Man, it was a fun game.
A lot of
Every
points.
time, and listen, we just talked about this. Every single time they scored a touchdown, which was often, they have a horse, a little miniature pony that they bring out and they run across the field every time they do a touchdown.
It's Petunia, right?
It's little Sebastian.
Amazing.
Even like very similar coloring, if I remember correctly. It's fantastic. But yes, Petunia. It's like Petunia the 9th, or not Petunia because it's
That was Petunia.
it's really close. SMU pony. This is great podcast.
Yes.
You're very close. It's Peruna. 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 Peruna.
This is why we don't know. It's not an easy. Yeah.
It's dumb. Oh, it's named
Don't
after
call
a
that many
20th
horse dumb, Josh.
It's named after a 20 early. This is great. This is actually great. It's named after an early 20th century medicine, the Peruna tonic, which was said to have a kick.
Okay, we'll leave that up to your good. Yeah, well done, Josh. We'll leave that up to your interpretation. Very good. By the way, if you are in the Dallas area, I'm looking at SMU plays a Friday night game this week. BYU is coming to town. I'm still seeing tickets available for like $30. So if you're in the Dallas area you're looking for, because again, we're halfway joking about SMU being really good, but we're also not like, we'll talk about it. The ACC kind of fell apart other than Miami. The SMU, great week overall. Great week. Fantastic. Mostly because of what other teams in their conference did. But
by proximity, they did their job against their FCS school.
Yeah, that was not necessarily...
Which apparently is...
harder than it appears.
Yeah, not everyone did.
Than it looks.
Yeah, there was other Texas schools that struggled maybe to the point of overtime. Johnny, you got yourself to a different game in a different conference that makes no sense. Which game did you go to?
Cincinnati being in the Big 12 at least makes a little more sense than SMU on the Atlantic coast.
Yes.
But it is what Josh just said. One of the striking things for me wasn't even like the Big 12 logo or anything, because Cincinnati, in my opinion, kind of belongs there with West Virginia, at least. Rip Big East, that's really where they should be. But the flags, the conference flags do throw you off when you look up and you're like, wait, that's Colorado's logo. Like Cincinnati's in that conference. Like, wait, hold on. So that does throw you a little bit. So I was in Cincinnati, went to Nippert Stadium to watch Cincinnati play Towson. We've just mentioned struggles against FCS opponents in week 1. Cincinnati certainly meets that description. The stadium was totally full, probably a sellout. I didn't check, but it appeared like a sellout. I mean, they do a great job supporting. I went and tailgated beforehand, which was awesome. Super cool. So loved getting to do that. We were down like right next to the student section, which was really cool. So we had a great time, great atmosphere. And Cincinnati did win, but you could kind of tell the vibe of the crowd changed in the second half when they didn't start to pull away from Towson. So they only won 38-20. I know a lot of times you're like, oh, right, but like they won by 18. But Towson wasn't very good in the FCS last year. So it definitely it'll be interesting. The corners specifically for Cincinnati, real rough. Missed tackles, not in the right placements on wide runs, not, just allowing Towson almost to body them on just 50-50 balls in the air that the quarterback was often not trying to throw guys open. They just threw it up. And if that's happening against Towson, I just have questions of how that's going to work in the Big 12 this year. And last year was real rough for Cincinnati. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong for the sake of that wonderful atmosphere, that wonderful stadium that I experienced. They have such a good fan base. But that did not look promising to me with my at least football eye, if you will. My football eye is often wrong. But it was wonderful to be there. If you haven't been, you're in the area. Again, not SMU reasonable, but easier to get into than perhaps one of the bigger schools at times. And it's a really beautiful stadium and a great, great time.
Well, that wasn't all. In fact, Johnny actually double dipped this week because Johnny and I got the chance to go to Toledo, to the Glass Bowl, where we covered Toledo playing Duquesne on a Thursday night. So that was lovely as well. Big thanks to the folks over at Toledo for giving us the opportunity to cover that game. So I was on the sidelines for a lot of that game, just kind of taking in the action, looking at Toledo. Overall, again, it's going to be easy to overreact in week 1. That's where we're heading. By the way, for those wondering what's next on the show, it will be week 1 overreactions. But I will say, from everything we watched from Toledo, really good. Comparatively, I mean, especially if you compare another school in the state, Cincinnati beating Towson by 18, Toledo beat a team that was in the FCS playoffs by 38. I think it was 48-10 was the final score. So absolutely dominant. There was barely a moment in which you thought Toledo was even at risk of the game becoming competitive. So I liked what I saw there. Still a long way to go, but as we mentioned last week, this is a team that if you're looking for that group of 5 playoff team, I'm not predicting that it will be Toledo, but if you think there will be a team out of the MAC, or if you are rooting for a team to come out of the MAC to get to the playoff, Toledo is probably your best bet. Big thing there for Toledo, a brand new, and I mean brand new offensive line. 0 career starts when they took the field on Thursday night. Overall, I think, okay. Only 2 sacks, ran the ball fairly well. Success. Again, I know it's an FCS opponent, but I was really impressed. Tucker Gleason looked good, didn't make many mistakes. The wide receivers there, they've got some real talent. They've got some talent at the running back position. The safeties for Toledo were phenomenal. And a reminder that Toledo just lost a first-round cornerback to the draft, the first overall cornerback taken in the draft. And that area, you would think on paper, well, gosh, Toledo, they're going to be in trouble in the secondary. If anything, that was the strength of the entire team on Thursday night, which was really cool to see. Really good safety play there. So we'll keep following that team as the season goes along. They do play a Mississippi State team here in a couple weeks as well. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. But that's a game we covered. And we wrapped up our weeks that way. However, Fifth and Goal also got the chance to go to Northwestern this week. So Austin was kind enough to check out the Wildcats. We got access there as well, so we were credentialed for that game. He got to take in Northwestern, holding off a tough Miami team, a defensive slugfest. 13-6 was the score there. If you have not seen it yet, Northwestern is playing in quite the interesting stadium for the next 2 years. They are quite literally 150 feet away from Lake Michigan because their previous stadium, Ryan Field, has basically been demolished and they're rebuilding it from the ground up. $800 million later, they'll be expected to rejoin that stadium here in 2026. But so that more on that game is available at our website. We encourage you to check it out, fifthandgoalsports.com. That article will be up. But about what we expected, that was a close line in that game. Northwestern did cover, but it was low scoring. That was kind of expected. Northwestern gets the season underway 1-0. But I will say for Miami, they were close. They drove all the way down to like the 25 or so before throwing a pick that ended the game. I will say for the most part, Miami got out of there healthy, and that has been a struggle for the Redhawks against Power 4 opponents in the past. They still have basically their whole roster there. So that's step one. Now, they do still play Notre Dame. But that's honestly, in a lot of those kind of games, and I know Miami wanted to win that game. They had a lot of chances to win. They were only 3.5-point underdogs, but got out of there healthy. And for the MAC season, at least, that's really big. So that's kind of a big recap on the games that we were actually at here at Fifth and Goal. So that was a lot of fun. Josh and I were talking pre-podcast. Wow, we kind of all got to go to our different games. That's a good way to celebrate week one. We said that week one would be the best, but could be the best week one ever. I don't think we quite lived up to that. However,
no,
some of the storylines that we get out of week one could be some of the best we've had in quite some time. Obviously, the highlights, we'll dive into some of these games. For the most part, some blowouts, right? Georgia, blowout. Miami, blowout. Penn State, blowout. But there were some other things in there that were very intriguing. Guys, anything standing out to you in week one especially?
I will say I nailed it on the Michigan pick.
Yeah, that was a little uncomfortable for Michigan fans. Yep.
That was, especially at home. I mean, going in only a 6-point, I think it was like a 6-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Like, again, like I said, I was not calling the upset. Upset did not happen, but this is why, and we'll probably get to Ohio State in a second, but like, you have a lot of new people figuring out how to work things out. There was a lot of changeover over the past year, even if there was some consistency on the coaching side of things with Harbaugh being out last year. But like, that was a fun game. So I'm very rarely right about these things. That's usually your department, and I wear funny hats. So I just wanted to be like, hey, I did a thing.
Yep. Well, you're right. Yeah, well done. I was right about Ohio State not covering, so I'll pat myself on the back. Barely, I was right. But
I was gonna say that was an unrealistic cover anyway. But
no, it wasn't. They were only like a few points off. They were so close. If they hadn't taken their time early in the game, they do cover.
Yeah.
6 points for Akron. Ridiculous. I was obviously most shocked by and embarrassed in some ways by my pick with Vandy taking out Virginia Tech. Aaron mentioned the rough opening weekend for the ACC every single big time contender thought to be in the preseason lost week 1, except for Miami, which we'll obviously get to. That's too big of a story not to mention at all. But wow, like Pavia looked way better than I expected at Vandy. I thought he'd have a harder time adjusting. Like, it's not, even though Vandy was home, it's not like they have any kind of home field advantage there. Just really, really disappointed in Virginia Tech. Impressed by Vandy for sure. It's their first like non-conference FBS opponent, like opening win in forever. I can't even remember what the stat was. It maybe a decade or more. But super disappointed in Virginia Tech, specifically that offense. Was expecting a lot more out of them. This just goes to show, even scheduling any kind of Power 4 team week 1 can be tricky. I still am not ready to bail on Virginia Tech totally. Like, oh, the season's over. It's not. It's a non-conference loss. But there is now zero margin for error, perhaps, for the Hokies at this point, because that will not age well, that loss. Even in overtime, it will not age well as a defeat. Very surprised by Drones and company on offense, just struggling to the extent that they did and not able to pull that off. So that one obviously stuck out to me. I kind of laughed at the line, thinking that was an absurd thing. Of course they'd cover, and clearly they didn't only not cover, they lost.
Yeah. And again, outside of Miami, the rest of the ACC took one on the nose from the national perspective. So I think there was a lot of questions of how strong is this conference just in general. And when you have some of the losses they do, that sticks in people's minds, especially in week 1. So then when you're at the end of the year trying to resume compare, because that's what's going to happen here in November, especially, that doesn't work out so well for you. Now, again, there's really no team in college football that's been eliminated per se from the playoff yet. We're getting close, because in some cases, all it takes is one loss, especially for some of the group of 5 teams. But I don't know if there's any single one team that is technically eliminated yet. However, Florida State could actually do that tonight by losing to Boston College. But that will if that happens, that's next week's conversation. I do want to talk about Miami, Florida, and I want to talk about Miami. But let me talk about Florida first.
Oof.
Because I want to address something that we have all kind of collectively talked about here on the show. Everyone is aware of the elephant in the room, which is not Alabama. The elephant in the room is Florida's schedule, the toughest in the country. And we were all very upfront. We're like, hey, if Florida goes maybe even 6-6, if they can find a way to go 7-5, Billy Napier in his 3rd year, I know that's not what Florida wants, but consider that a success. Check the box, move on to next year, and see what next year gives you.
Take some lumps.
Yeah. That was assuming that we would see a Florida team that was at least putting a competitive product on the field. And that did not happen on Saturday. And maybe this is the biggest week 1 overreaction of this entire show that you're about to hear. I don't think it is. And you knew one of these teams with a loss was going to panic, but this is so much worse for Florida than I could have possibly imagined. They were favored, Aaron. Bad. They were favored. They were at home. Them even being at home did not matter. It did not matter. It didn't feel like the swamp made any effect on Miami. Miami was absolutely brilliant. Make no mistake about it. But right now, under Billy Napier, Florida is 2-9 versus teams that finished the season ranked. Yeah. They have now lost 6 games in a row. Their last home game win was October 7th. We're talking about the swamp here, people. We're talking about a place that should be top 10 most difficult and maybe top 5 most difficult places to play in college football. And yet Florida has not found a way to win since early October last year. They're also 1-10 against their rival teams. And it's not just Billy Napier. There are issues that go past Billy Napier, through the athletic department, through even a president that I think that search is in flux. It's all bad. It's so bad to the point that there were videos coming out afterwards of Miami after this victory going up to Florida recruits and flashing the U and saying, hey, come to our school. That happens from time to time, especially when you have such a big upset on the road. But why was it so easy for Florida? Excuse me. Why was it so easy for Miami to do that to the Florida recruits? Did they go out of their way to go to the recruits and say, "Hey, come join us"? That seems like a kind of weird thing to do after a victory. No, they didn't have to go out of their way because Florida, in their stupidity, put the Miami section, the family, right next to the Florida recruits. So Miami's going up to their family, to their fans after this win, and the recruits are right next to them. You are begging Miami to show exactly how bad they have beat you just by something that silly. Like that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Yes, it's Billy Napier. Yes, it's any number of things that have gone wrong for Florida, but it's through the entire athletic department. It's all bad. It's all terrible. Billy Napier needs to go, but frankly, I don't know if it gets much better bringing in someone new because it's all bad. Why is it bad? I think we could probably have an entire show on it. You're in Florida. There's no excuse. You are literally in the hotbed. Texas obviously has an argument. You're in the hotbed of the best football in the country. How are you perennially 6-6 or worse? And they're going to be worse, potentially much, much worse this year.
Shouldn't have fired Dan Mullen.
Said
it when it happened.
He's the last person to beat Georgia, not named Alabama.
Aaron, they were in back-to-back New Year's Six games, I believe. And then they had a down year, and in that down year, fired. Mm-hmm. And even at the time, we were all like, shoot, that can't just be on the field stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, you in the SEC deserve the benefit of the doubt to have a bad season. And they just fired him immediately. And that's always, it is a warning because there are, Aaron, you just gave all the reasons why Florida should never be bad. But it is a warning to those parents that, no, you can still fall off quickly. If you,
100%.
like, if you make the wrong hire, you will fall off fast. And it is one game, and I'd like to not overreact, but for all the reasons, if this is a 41-40 game, Aaron's not talking like this.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, man, like, what a fight, what a great game. Yep. It's close. Like, this is just tough. That's really difficult opening up with a team like Miami. But yeah, brutal. Mm-hmm. Never in doubt. Cam Ward made me feel brilliant for picking him as my dark horse Heisman winner. And for picking them to win the conference. Feel really strong about that. But also, Florida might just be bad.
Yep.
So it's hard to know. It's hard to know. We don't want to take away everything from week one. Something though, it's not everything, but it is something. So that's always important to remember. Like, it's not watch the whole game. Don't just look at the score at the end. Like it's not 1-for-1 there, but that was rough. That was really, really rough. And I didn't expect that one. One I did expect was Georgia hammering Clemson.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised at all when I saw that score. I didn't get to watch it live because I was at the UC game, and I just saw the score in the fourth quarter, and I'm like, yep. I don't know about you guys. That just wasn't surprised in the slightest in that one. I was surprised by Penn State just dispatching West Virginia the way they did.
Oh yeah, we called that.
I wasn't surprised by Georgia whatsoever. No, I thought Morgantown would be tougher.
Not only for Georgia, but I think this seems like. Yeah, I was reading a David Hale on Twitter put this out. It's really funny, and we're always going to do it to make fun of Dabo Swinney's lack of portal usage.
Yeah,
it's great memes. There was some really good responses. Like, good job, everyone. Good job on Twitter for the memes. It's not that he's not using the transfer portal. It's that he's so confident in his players that have so clearly not done a thing. Like it's still his issue, but it's a red herring to look at. It's a straw man to look at the portal. Like, it's not that anyone's ever misevaluated like one of their starters, but like he bet on Moore and Wesco. He could have gone, oh no, I want to do more recruiting or figure something out. He was confident in them. Now what?
Yep.
So this is who he is. This has been long enough of a period where we now can see, okay, this is a pattern. This is how he does things. Not that he's not willing to change, but frankly, after some of the discussions he's had, and that he doesn't even go on his own radio shows and take callers. Thank you.
Yeah, what was that guy's name?
Whoever that one kid, man.
Yeah.
Absolute
Spartansburg?
goat.
Yeah, thank
Tyler?
you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Tyler.
Tyler.
I think
Thank
Tyler
you.
from Spartansburg.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear that he's confident enough in his own system that he's not going to be changing much at this point. So this is who you have. If you're okay with it, awesome. I don't think it's going to do anything for you much past what you've already seen. Maybe he's going to luck out with another. I'm blanking on his name from a while ago. I see him.
Trevor
throwing in the NFL.
Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. Thank you. Yeah, he
Yeah.
might luck out with a Trevor Lawrence again. But his track record shows that most likely that's not going to be the case. So now, this is your Clemson team. This is your. They deserve to stay in the ACC.
I mean, wasn't it 6-0 at half?
Yeah.
Don't let and this is why I say don't just look at the final score. The
Exactly.
defense at Clemson is fine.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It's okay.
No issues.
There's no problem there, but you can only hold on so long when it's not even your offense isn't scoring. They're not even moving the ball. You're just getting thrown back out there. Possession after possession after possession. Eventually you break against a good team like Georgia. And so, I mean, there's major questions. Now, the rest of the conference didn't look good. So it's not like Clemson's all of a sudden going to go 7-5. They could, but I'm not going to say that based off just this game.
Week ones are always messy at times.
Yes. And they're not going to play Georgia again. There's not another team on their schedule that will look remotely like Georgia. So Clemson could hypothetically be the first or second best team in the ACC still. I'm not predicting that, but it could be the case. So that's also the just not overreacting. Now Florida's going to play Miami again, 4 more times. Not Miami, but that equivalent
caliber.
Yep.
Yeah.
So panicking is okay in some senses.
You're okay. You're allowed to panic.
Clemson will not play Georgia, the equivalent, at any other point in time this season. Doesn't make what happened okay, but it doesn't mean the season is lost. It's non-conference, so it's not as punitive. You look terrible, and you look terrible for the exact same reasons. That's why I would be concerned. And what you just said, Josh, is a great point. It's not just the portal. It's really their wide receiver. They have not innovated on offense. No. And I'm shocked that with Garrett Riley,
who else?
Year 2, they have not innovated. Everyone expected that. They thought it was a wonderful hire. But I'm still wondering, because I haven't even seen the style change, if Dabo still has his fingers in that offense is really truly preventing it, a la Kirk Ferentz, really, from changing. You can only do so much as the coordinator if the head coach won't get out of the kitchen and allow you to create the recipe.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. As a side note, you know who else doesn't use the portal a ton? Kirby.
Vandy. Oh.
I mean, relative to other programs, you're absolutely right, Josh.
It's not that they don't use it; it's that he's like,
they don't need to use it a lot.
Yeah, just develop. He'd rather develop players and understand realistically what their areas of growth are. Yeah. They actually do development in Georgia.
Yeah, and you look at Clemson's recruiting classes. We're not talking about the recruiting falling off.
Their recruiting's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yep. It's usually best or close to the best in the ACC. And again, you're right. Maybe they are the second best team in the ACC. But just as a reminder, the ACC was bad last year, relatively speaking. Weak, I think. There's a reason Florida State didn't get in, even though they were undefeated. It was a dumb reason, but there was a reason. Clemson went 4-4 in that conference. They went 500 in the ACC.
You can't.
I don't know if they go 500 again. But what I do know is that in 2025, LSU and Clemson start the season in what could be the greatest battle of mid ever. And I'm being a little sarcastic. LSU is not a bad team, but yet again, for a third straight season, Brian Kelly is in the wrong end of a tough, close loss. That was not the case last year. Florida State beat LSU pretty badly. If you remember 2 years ago, LSU basically misses an extra point that prevents them from tying the game. This year, they lose to USC basically on the last drive of the game. Miller Moss was fantastic for USC. That wide receiver group, they had some ridiculous catches. I was really impressed with USC. Now, whether that's because LSU is, I think what we saw, honestly, is I think we saw two very good teams. The narrative in week one is, well, gosh, this team lost by 30. They're terrible. This team's great. That's not always the case. It's not the case that Notre Dame is terrible. Or sorry, it's not the case that Texas A&M is terrible just by virtue of losing to Notre Dame. Those two teams could be very good. LSU, USC could both be very good. The biggest overreaction I see in week one is, oh, Texas A&M lost at home. They're terrible. Now, do they have
Not
some
true at
glaring
all.
weaknesses? Absolutely. Do they have the quarterback play they need to succeed in the SEC? I don't think so. There's some other issues there, but it's also Mike Elko's first year. Is LSU absolutely ruined? No, I don't think so. The defense was not good, but it was better.
It was definitely better.
It was better.
Both
And Garrett
ways.
Nussmeier, for the most part, I thought played really well. So that's one narrative that I think we can possibly move out of the way. However, Brian Kelly has consistently lost every big game. It dates back to his time at Notre Dame. Just look at their New Year's Six or BCS record. Now, it says something that you're getting a team to that point. It does not mean he's a bad coach. But yet again, he has not been able to win games like this. And he comes in the press conference literally banging his fist, mad, all this stuff. Honestly, for the most part, I like to see that from a coach. From Brian Kelly, I don't want to see that. I just want to see you win. I want to see you actually do your job and coach a team to a big victory. Save me this anger in the press conference. I can't believe we didn't win. I can, because you lose every single game like this. So I think LSU's going to be fine, but Brian Kelly can save me this. Oh, we were so close. I can't believe we lost this. You got out coached by Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley's not known as a great in-game coach, great recruiter, phenomenal quarterback development at USC. He's got another one. Miller Moss looked unbelievable, like 380 yards. Anyways, that's my thought on Brian Kelly. I'm over it. Just win a game. Stop talking about your team not executing. Win a game. Save me this anger in the press conference. Actually do your job.
And my takeaway was actually USC's defense.
Yeah.
I'm shocked I'm saying
100%.
Shocked I'm saying that.
Yep.
And partly because you're seeing the 20 points for LSU, but it's deeper than that. It's deeper because if you watch that game last night, Sunday night, the thing that actually stuck out the most to me, they adjusted.
Yep.
There was a point in time in the game where I'm like, oh no, USC's ghosts on defense and missed tackles are coming back. They're coming back. Because don't forget, this is largely the same defensive roster for USC. The personnel has actually not changed a lot. They were so bad, they weren't going to the draft. And if they went in the portal, they were probably going down, to a lower level or something, or, not as good of a team. And this has been it's one game. And we also don't know how good LSU's offense is for sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to think they're good, but it's a brand new play caller for LSU on the other side. We don't know 100% that they're good. However, I don't think I even saw USC against any opponent look this impressive on defense. So I'll stick with that that was and this is going to give that defense confidence as well, that they were able to adjust. There was a point in time in the game, LSU finally started to really get a hold of running that ball. And I can't remember the name of their running back, but he was punishing them and breaking tackles like crazy. And I'm like, oh no, LSU's about to put USC away and they're just going to control the clock, run it down and finish them off. And credit to USC's coaches. That was never their players were not in the position they needed to. They're struggling to tackle. They made adjustments and it hindered LSU from running like that the rest of the game. It also was fourth quarter. I get it. You start throwing the ball a little bit more, but they adjusted and they made the critical adjustment. And I even said in the fourth quarter, I was like, all right, you want to prove that you're a better defense. Like now's the time. And they did. They literally did it. And I was just super impressed by that. Because Aaron, like you said, Miller Moss had a great game. Yeah, of course. Is anybody so shocked by that? Not really. stunned by how good of a performance. The over-under in this game for the total, I believe, was like 63.5. So LSU's defense looked improved too, but USC's very, very impressive. They showed that they're going to be a tough out in the Big Ten this year. They will be a tough. I'm not saying contenders or anything like that, but they have proven that they deserve to be ranked. They deserve to be seen in that secondary tier behind the playoff contenders in the Big Ten, and they'll be real. They'll be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, no doubt. Josh, did you get any feedback from any Texas A&M fans after that loss? Or I realized that you were also simultaneously at a different Texas game. So
no, I was texting my A&M friends, and I was like, all right, because he was watching on TV and he was quad viewing it, and so what I would do is I'd be like, hey, watch this next play in 30 seconds that comes up on quad view. I'm like, hey,
Nice.
listen, we had our own big man touchdown. It was beautiful. A beautiful fumble recovery by a lineman. So I'm like, hey, watch this. And so he was live tweeting the game for me, and he predicted before the game started, he's like, A&M's going to get barely up and then they're going to blow it. And basically all of his texts were called it, knew it. Yep.
The prophecy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was the unrealistic A&M fans are always telling me 12-0. So I'm going to go talk to them tomorrow and be like, hey, all you Aggies, how are you doing? So my one reasonable A&M fan went, or the one, reasonable Aggie I know goes, yeah, I called that. This was not gonna. He's like, this wasn't gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
So general depression, like again, it's they're like, I'm like, you guys, this was a toss up. Like I called the victory, but again, it was like I thought it was gonna be closer.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was gonna be closer to a toss up, and I'm like.
And it really was like the final
really
score
was
of double
fine.
digits was very misleading.
Close.
Yeah. Very close the whole way through.
Very close. Yeah.
Honestly, Texas A&M, I know you're really disappointed by that loss, but that unlike the loss that Florida took, and maybe unlike the loss Clemson took, my outlook for Texas A&M does not change with that loss. It really doesn't. Mike Elko, I think, is going to be great. There's some things to figure out. Sure. I think you probably lost to a top 10 Notre Dame. Well, I know you lost to a top 10 Notre Dame team. Maybe top 5. Maybe. We've got them ranked higher than everyone, and that kind of played itself out.
And that might be the best secondary they actually face all season. Yeah, I will say that when it comes to Connor Wegman, like, don't bail. Don't bail yet. Mm-hmm. Don't bail yet. Again, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but that might there are multiple All-Americans on that Notre Dame secondary. Like, it's not time to bail. Weapons at A&M are also unproven. So don't bail yet. I liked what I saw. Notre Dame, very impressed with that young offensive line. That was my takeaway. Mm-hmm. Now, the play calling protected Riley Leonard a bit too, but I thought the offensive line, to have to go into that environment, first game, all new, basically all new starters, well done. Well done by the Notre Dame offensive line. I thought they did a wonderful job. And first real big win for Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. That's awesome. It's year 3. That's a great start. And people are now going to start talking about Notre Dame potentially running the table. Yep. It's not simple. They have USC, they have Florida State. There's landmines there, but it's possible.
It certainly is. They may be favored in every game they play from here till the end of not the end of the season, but end of the regular season at least. And I will say, I absolutely love Riley Leonard. I just think he's such a good player. Like, I have to stop myself from using all the stereotypical like white gritty quarterback, monikers, but it's so true. Like, I just absolutely love the way he plays. He's extremely humble. And while Sam Hartman might technically be a better quarterback, Riley Leonard might be a better fit for Notre Dame. So, and again, maybe that's a week 1 overreaction, but I think that meeting between Riley Leonard and Notre Dame will be a good thing. Let's not ignore the fact that he beat his head coach. If you thought there was an advantage between quarterback facing his head coach, you would think that the former head coach would have the answer there. And that didn't necessarily play itself out. So congrats to him. Congrats to Notre Dame. That'll be a fun team to watch. I've got a quick straight to jail. Everything in week 1 was wonderful. College football was fully back. It was all great. The replay center, what are we doing? What? Every game I watched, there was a replay that was just absolutely bungled. And I'm
Yes.
not the only person that's saying this, by the way.
Terrible.
So it's not me going blind. That might be happening independently of what's happening.
Anyway.
But the replay center, terrible. So that's my gripe for the show. Week 2. Boy, we've got a slate.
Sorry. If we're doing straight to jails, can I do just a quick straight to jail?
Oh, of course.
Everyone knows. When I say everyone, I do mean everyone. I'm going to generalize here. It's never a bad idea. It's always good to generalize.
Yes.
Ohio State's nickname, the Ohio State band's nickname is TDBITL, something like that. The best band in the land. Yes. Darn, because we're a family show. And we've known that. I grew up in that. That's the website, for crying out loud. It's tdbitl.osu.edu. Love it, know it. So again, this is my first SMU game. I go out and they announce they're like, hey, here's your marching band, your Broncos, whatever marching bands, pony up. Let's ride. And they have this big video promo and the initials TDBITL pop up. And I'm like, wait. And they call themselves the best dressed band in the land. And I viscerally shuddered. I almost walked.
I'm looking up how well dressed they are.
They're fine, but it's all that preppy. Like, it's exactly what you would expect an SMU bands to look like, which is way too preppy and trying too hard.
What are we doing?
It's like vertical stripes, red and white. It's so many colors. It's all these like primary colors. I'm like, this looks like a band.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like it's gaudy. Like it's not great. Yeah, throw it on the uniform watch. Straight to jail. The uniform, the costumes. I'll call them that. And 2, how dare you? How dare you? Try and steal the name.
Yeah.
Besmirch the acronym. Like ruin it with that. And it wasn't even true. The outfits they had for the day were just like their basic. It was like white. They had a white out, so like all the outfits were white. But I'm like, it's nothing.
All I know is besmirch the acronym. That's an incredible band name.
Besmirch the acronym is so good.
That's absolutely unbelievable. I'm taking that. All right, we will move on to week 2. There are a bunch of good games. No, we don't necessarily have the Clemson, Georgia, the Notre Dame, Texas A&M kind of showdowns, but I think we've got a lot of sneaky good games. I dare say we may have more competitive games, even if they don't necessarily take place between 2 top 25 teams. Texas, Michigan is obviously probably the highlight of the week in terms of the pedigree of the teams. Now, how close will that game be? That's a big question. This game is being played at Michigan, but obviously the Wolverines didn't look extremely good against Fresno State, but obviously they've got a lot of moving pieces there. Texas absolutely demolishing Colorado State, 59-0. They are coming to Ann Arbor. But let me just throw some other games out there. We've got Arkansas heading to Oklahoma State. We've got Kansas State at Tulane. That's a good one to watch.
Green Wave.
If you also are looking for maybe a potential big upset, Group of 5 over Power 4, Boise State at Oregon. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but Ashton Jeanty ran for like 7,000 miles and 6 touchdowns, something absolutely absurd.
Yeah,
Oregon struggled with Idaho. And now the score was a little bit misleading. I think Oregon was slightly better, but at some point the scoreboard doesn't lie. So that's something to watch. We've also got in the Group of 5 ranks, we've got UTSA at Texas State. Both of those teams are considered favorites in their respective conferences. It's a rivalry. That's one to pay attention to as well. Speaking of rivalries, we've got Iowa State at Iowa. The Cyhawk rivalry, we'll be picking that later in the show. But of those games, also I got to throw in Tennessee, NC State. It's stupid because we're playing this game at a neutral site. Why? Because the people that make these decisions are silly. But that's another game I'll throw in there. Guys, anything jumping off the page to you that you are especially looking forward to watching this week? Or maybe you have strong thoughts, strong predictions, something like that.
If NC State loses to Tennessee, the ACC looks like a one-horse race.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
NC State's kind of the last team standing there, and they looked real rough I believe they played Thursday, Aaron. Is that right?
Western Carolina.
Really rough against Western Carolina. Again, week 1 something. It's not everything, though. So, there have been plenty of teams that have struggled week 1 against far lesser opponents, and then they're off to the races. But I think Tennessee's darn good. So I'd be careful there. And then Texas, Michigan, we're not going to pick that for our picks. Michigan's defense is going to be fine. But Michigan clearly doesn't have a quarterback to me, picked. And going into a game against Texas, that is going to be brutal. Texas is definitely going to key in on that run game, and they have the ability to actually do it and make Michigan throw the ball. So I'm concerned, if I'm a Michigan fan, on the ability to have a balanced playbook in this game. And if you get behind, Michigan cannot afford to get behind quickly against Texas.
Yeah.
If they get behind quickly in that game, it could actually get ugly. I don't want to take away too much from week 1 for both of these teams, but Michigan rarely, even in the last several years when they've been super successful, did well when they got behind early, like against TCU. They really struggled because they kind of panicked. They have to throw it a little bit more. If Texas gets up big in that game, watch out. That actually could get pretty bad pretty quickly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love me some Cyhawk. It's kind of a sicko watch, but I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And again, we're making picks, so I'm in just a moment. I won't get too much in the weeds. Can we talk about the fact that Iowa put up 40 points? And I'm not kidding.
Wow.
That's actually a thing that Iowa hasn't done for 3 years. I said it last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. All it takes is Iowa having an offense that can actually occasionally score that many points for them to go from a team that finishes 8-4 or 9-3 to a team that goes 10-2 or 11-1. And you're talking about a playoff team. Now, I'm not saying that based on their game against, was it an FCS opponent they played? Yeah, it was an FCS opponent they played. Yeah. I'm not saying that means they're going to the playoff. Please, I did not say that. Do not hear that. What I am saying is this is a good first step in having an offense that I'm not ashamed to watch and tell my friends that I watched Iowa play. I don't have to have shame in that because
you should never have had shame, Aaron.
True. Fair enough.
Punts, always.
True.
And listen, their opening drive was promising.
Yeah. Yeah, what was it? 8 minutes with a punt, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they figured it out.
Yeah, they
God
sure did.
bless them.
That game's at Iowa. I am very interested to see that Kansas State Tulane game. I need to make a correction in our show notes because I currently have Tulane as 9.5 point favorites. That's obviously not the case. Kansas State comes in, but it's a single digit spread. And I think that says a lot. Number one, Tulane beat Kansas State in Manhattan 2 years ago. They got very close with Ole Miss last year. Different coaching staff. I get that. But I love that green wave. Johnny and I, there's a special bond between he and I and that angry little guy. We love Tulane. And I like Kansas State a lot. I have no ill will against the Wildcats, but for this 1 week, I am all in on the green wave. Go Tulane. Let's make it happen. Tulane in the playoff, that'd be fantastic.
Oh, great.
All right, let's make some picks. Last week, Notre Dame beat Texas A&M. So that means Johnny and I were correct in that prediction. Thank you again, Senator Ted Cruz. This week, we are picking the NFL because
Tim and Drake, man, I just got to start betting. I just need to know who they're publicly supporting. And I think you send that, Johnny. If I would have just placed
$100 don't mention bet, it. That's what I'm following.
I didn't say a thing. YouTube only knows stats.
That's right.
YouTube only. Oh, I see in the notes. I didn't say a thing.
Yep. You heard nothing.
What did I say?
You heard nothing. That means that our current scoreboard is Johnny with 12 and Josh and I both have 7. So we've got some major work to do. And it's not helping that we're making NFL Super Bowl picks. We obviously have to because the season starts on Thursday. So we've got to bring some NFL into this conversation. So we're making picks, and we are picking the Cy-Hawk rivalry, as I mentioned. I typically don't make picks with my heart. I a lot of times go with my head, with my gut, with stats that are in front of me. And and you know what? And frankly, I'm in last place. So look where it's got me. Pretty much nowhere. Did I win a footlong cookie last season of the podcast? No, I did not.
No.
So I'm going with my heart with my Super Bowl pick. I was going back and forth between some teams. There's no other way this situation shapes up other than the Detroit Lions winning their first ever Super Bowl. It's got to happen. Last year was magical. It was unbelievable. The crowd at Ford Field, the playoff run, breaking all kinds of records. It was all great. It's going to pale in comparison to what the Lions do this year. They're going to have a, you know what? I actually don't even know if they win as many games in the regular season, but it's all just, they're just biding their time. They're getting prepped for another long playoff run. This time, we're not going to drop an interception right into the lap of a wide receiver for a touchdown. We're gonna figure things out. It's going to happen. I like this team. It was a bunch of rookies made really, really big impacts for this team last year. And year 2, I think they're going to be that much better. Here's another factor. Jared Goff at quarterback has been very good. Not elite. He doesn't have to be. Here's where he will be throwing the ball in 2024. Get ready for this. Week 1, at home against the Rams, dome. Week 2, dome. Week 3, dome. Week 4, dome. Week 5, bye week. Weeks 6 through 8, a dome. Week 9, Lambeau Field, give you that one. Weeks 10 through 15, a dome. Week 16 at Chicago, week 17 at San Francisco, week 18, a dome. I understand the boos. I am with you guys. I think football should always be played outside. But for the purpose of this season, that gives me a good warm feeling that Jared Goff will not really have to even worry about the elements. He'll be zinging that ball to Amon-Ra, to Jameson Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I think this could be a good season. I do have, out of the AFC, I have the Baltimore Ravens finally breaking through. I think they finally unseat Kansas City, who will be going for that elusive three-peat. I think they finally get the job done. I think it probably requires Lamar Jackson to be relatively injury-free, which for the most part he was last year. I think they finally find a way to get past that Kansas City block that they've been faced with. But I've got the Lions over the Baltimore Ravens in my Super Bowl.
I was so deeply emotionally affected by the Bengals' loss to the Rams. And see, this is how sad I was. I just blocked the name. They lost to the Rams in the Super Bowl a few years ago, and I've been secretly going, dang, this is the one chance for Ohio to stop being a meme. And so, and I still very, very much believe that Joe Burrow bringing a title to the Queen City will somehow undo the curse of Harambe.
Okay.
So
I can get on board with that.
Yeah. So I am taking the Bengals. I'm taking them over the Lions, and that's not to slight. It's because I forgot to check that side of the NFL and get my predictions in. And I went, you know what? They do seem like the clear favorite on that side. No one else looks close right now. And for the Cy-Hawk rivalry, I'm going with punts, baby. Iowa all the way.
Nice.
I was going to say, Josh, roughly how many punts have to occur in the game for you to get the point there? But okay, Iowa.
I've got Iowa as well, for the record. I don't think I said that, but I've got Iowa.
I'm going fully with my heart here as well. Contract extension talks with Jamar Chase don't appear to be going well, which is extremely disappointing for the Bengals, to the extent that he is questionable week 1. I would argue the Bengals probably don't need him week 1 as they're playing the New England Patriots. He said and sealed his own fate now on a recorded podcast. However, that is a huge issue that needs to be resolved. Obviously, right away, he needs to be paid immediately. I know he wants one penny more than Justin Jefferson, and that's ridiculous and petty, but just do what you have to do. It's not worth sabotaging the whole season, and I'd argue it's already affected the season, so you're dummies for not getting this done months ago. Anyway, rant over. I haven't talked about that really on the podcast. I'm going with the Bengals still, despite all of that, over the 49ers, which is totally my heart because I would like some vengeance there. And also 49ers turn into the Buffalo Bills at that point, really, when it comes to Super Bowls, if they made it yet again and lost yet again. So I'll go with the Bengals, really believe in them. 49ers won't go anywhere in the NFC. They're still going to be very competitive, assuming they stay healthy. And the Bengals, honestly, I really, despite the Jamar Chase contract talks, other than that, really am. Joe Burrow's been healthy all offseason, ready to go. Technically the weakest schedule in the AFC North. Feel good about that. Hopefully they can take advantage of Cleveland and Pittsburgh's quarterback issues. For the Cyhawk Trophy, I'm going with Iowa State. Why? Because Aaron and Josh picked Iowa. I always cheer for Iowa State in this game. They never win it, but I will be correct one of these years. I do think it is that cyclical Iowa State timeline with Campbell's team. They're not going to be good every year. They're just not. In Ames, that's not how that works. That's not fair to expect. I think this is the year where they pop again, win 8, 9, maybe even 10 in that weird Big 12 this year. They've done that and lost to Iowa. I think this year it includes a win with Rocco Becht at quarterback. Iowa State pulls off the slight upset.
All right.
Thank you for saying cyclical when you were describing Iowa State. Good job.
Not on purpose.
And that's the best type of pun. The unexpected one.
This is a vibes pick, but my vibe of the Cincinnati Bengals this year, and I'm not rooting for this, by the way, because that's pretty much the team I root for in the AFC. For whatever reason, I just have a feeling this year's is going to be a little rough, and it's not just the Jamar thing. I don't know what it is. I've got a bad feeling about this season, and it's just purely vibes. So
you know what you're worried about? You're worried about the double threat of the two, not one, but two elite quarterbacks that the Steelers have brought on in the offseason.
Yes.
Everyone's calling for them to miss the playoffs for the first time.
They'll win 9 games. They'll win 9 games.
They're going to win more than 9.
No, that's impossible. No more, no less. 9 and 8.
No.
Let's your lot in life.
Going all the way through.
And you know what?
My secret vibes pick is we are 2 quarterbacking this thing all the way through.
Oh no.
You're never gonna know what's gonna hit you.
Well, the quarterback certainly won't, because that offensive line is terrible.
Still,
I mean, injuries are part of it, but good luck, Russell Wilson, who's not as mobile as he used to be.
You know who's used to that, though?
Justin
He's going to work
Fields.
perfectly in that. He's so ready for this. He's so ready for this.
No.
Oh, poor
He's
Justin.
been waiting his whole life. He's going to get Vietnam flashbacks. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. I am following a conspiracy. And Josh, I'm not trying to take this away from you. I know this is usually your part of the show. I do thank you very much for getting this clock. The conspiracy clock is out. Because someone brought this to my attention. This is at Mark Nagy on Twitter. And he says, in reference to, by the way, South Carolina's game against Old Dominion, which was scary for South Carolina for much of that game. And this is his quote, the more I watch South Carolina play football, and the more I read up about Connor Stallions, the more I'm willing to hear out the folks that say Shane Beamer had Tennessee's and Clemson's signals in 2022. Now, he does not state here, notice what I did not say, he does not state here that South Carolina cheated to get those signals. Now, that could be part of this. All he's saying is he thinks that they had the signals. I'm here to tell you that I think I'm a believer in this. Number one, because the week before at Florida, South Carolina loses 38-6. Spencer Rattler has one of his worst games of the year, a low in passing of 145 yards. The top rusher ran for 30 yards. And the top receiver for let me do some quick math here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For the 7th time out of 8 weeks, the top receiver had less than 100 yards. Enter number 5 Tennessee at home against South Carolina. Now, I realize that Tennessee defense was not all that great. South Carolina puts up 63 points and beats Tennessee. The week after, they put up 31 points against Clemson and win their back-to-back top 10 games. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, 31 points, okay, that's not that big of a deal. That year, Clemson gave up 20 or more points only 4 times. And one of them was a double overtime game, so I'm not sure that even counts. So I'm a full-blown believer in this conspiracy. Again, not sure how they got the signs, if it was legal, if it was not. I tend to think, based on what we know from Colorado Stallions, that it probably wasn't. But full believer in the South Carolina conspiracy. And now that we're watching them struggle, I know they're breaking in a new quarterback. Maybe they'll be fine. But if it does not go well, Shane Bieber's out the door, and the whole process in South Carolina resets, it makes you think, man, that flash in the pan that we saw, those top 10 wins, maybe there was a good reason for that. That's just a conspiracy. You can choose to believe it or not, but I think I believe it.
Hey, that's how Beamer ball works, baby.
Yeah. Oh, Beamer ball.
Guys, I think I found the perfect crossover between our mutual love of a TV show and our home state. So, this year was the 25th anniversary of the first season of SpongeBob. I think
Yay.
June 17th or something like that. June or July 17th, around that time. 1999 was the first SpongeBob episode. So we're in our they're in their what is that, the silver anniversary? Beautiful. Also, we are from Ohio, which is the birthplace of Wendy's. Now, I have in front of me a leaked document from Reddit user Belos1, posted on the SpongeBob subreddit 12 days ago. And it says, this is a press release, like an internal press release given to the employees. Wendy's brings to life its own take on the SpongeBob SquarePants Krabby Patty in limited time collaboration. They're launching a Krabby Patty. They're launching a Pineapple Under the Sea Frosty.
Oh.
And
now that's a little late in the year to be launching that.
You're correct. It seems late. And that's the perfect crime. Because they will not expect to want a Frosty as much as they want. Anyway, you know what the Krabby Patty is? It's a standard cheeseburger.
No, Josh, you can't say the secret recipe on here.
Oh no, don't worry. There's nothing. They don't give enough for the rest. It's
so this isn't the actual Krabby Patty.
Well, no, they're not saying. They say it's a premium cheeseburger with Wendy's fresh. It's a. How about this? It's an homage to the Krabby Patty.
Oh, okay.
Because from what I can tell here, it's not. Yeah. Here we go. Here's what they say. The Wendy's Krabby Patty meal. By the way, October 8th is the launch day, so you guys have a month to prepare.
Okay. It's really late for a pineapple Frosty.
Yeah. Sauce auto shipment is starting now, September 2nd to September 8th. Multi-unit training starts the 9th and ends the 29th. Restaurant training starts the 23rd, ends October 7th. The pop-up arrives the 2nd of October, and then a big red go live 10/8 on this official looking picture. But here's the Krabby Patty. A premium cheeseburger with Wendy's fresh, never frozen beef, topped with fresh produce, and a secret Krabby Patty sauce. Capturing the magic of the iconic fictional sandwich for SpongeBob fans. I don't like fictional.
Yeah, I was about to say that's
wrong.
I hate that. It's wrong.
Real.
I've seen Babish make it. He's done. If you haven't seen it, he doesn't need our promotion. But go watch Babish's video on YouTube. He makes Big Bubble Bass's order.
No.
The Krabby Patty Deluxe, 7x7, animal style, all that good stuff.
With pickles.
With pickles. He dad pickles both times.
Yes, he did.
He never forgot the pickles, guys. Stupid. Hate that guy. The Pineapple Under the Sea Frosty, in honor of SpongeBob's home. This Frosty is made with our signature vanilla Frosty, swirled with pineapple mango puree, and then a hot and crispy fry. So that's your Krabby Patty meal. We're launching a full 360-degree campaign with national TV advertising, earned media, restaurant merch. Each restaurant
Sounds pretty cool.
Here we go. Here's the big thing. Each restaurant will also receive 500 limited edition SpongeBob sticker sheets in their merchandise kits. Encourage your teams to hand these out directly to customers or include them in the bag with each Krabby Patty ordered while supplies last. I'm more excited about those stickers than I should be. I do not remember the last time a free sticker was part of anything that I was a part of. I was probably 9.
True.
So give me a sticker sheet, please. Or just one
Yes.
sticker.
The only thing that would make me more excited, Josh, is if the promotion was for the soda drink hat.
See,
I would be going to war for that soda drink hat.
I will say my only and you bring up a good point, Johnny. And again, this is very good news. I'm going to go to Wendy's on October 8th, whatever day that is. I feel like it's like a Thursday. Whatever day that happens to be. That's way too far in the future. They could have gone a little harder with this. I feel like, because I looked at some promotional pictures and it doesn't even look like they might be doing something. They might do it a little bit differently. Maybe they're keeping some secrets from us, as Krabs would want. It looks like a normal cheeseburger with what is going to essentially be some sort of like Big Mac or Cane's sauce on top, like some sort of secret sauce that's basically Thousand Island dressing with some seasonings.
Yep.
And the pineapple under the sea frosty is unique, but I'm like, I need something. If you're going to go SpongeBob, go full SpongeBob. This feels like some ad exec saw this and called up Paramount and was like, hey, you want to do a tie-in? So I'm just, this is not a critique, it's an encouragement.
It's a start.
Lean into it a little bit.
Yes.
You test the waters with this, and then next year you can order the Bubble Bass Burger.
Yes. Very good, Josh.
Yeah.
What I'm following, because I have just been every part of the state this weekend, I have done nothing really but look at sports when I've had the chance. And so I am going to be speaking on jinxes. You know, we're all very familiar with my jinx when it comes to Cincinnati Reds. I attended the Reds game on Friday night. They lost 14-0, easiest money I've ever made. But we're going to talk about somebody else's, which you could argue is worse in some ways. So this is from Reddit, College Football on Twitter. Give them credit. They're a great follow. So I'll just read this verbatim. Sports bettors are now 16-2 since 2017 when betting the money line against teams Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, shows up to support in person. 16-2 against the money line. They would have profited $2,461 if they placed a $100 bet on each game. That man's cursed. And we're also like, this is a variety of sports we're talking about. We're talking about the Houston Astros. We're talking about the Dallas Stars. Josh, did you go to a Mavs game? Probably no, in spirit. If he didn't in reality, he in spirit was there.
On that series, it felt like he did. He usually goes to the Rockets games if he can.
Yeah.
So like it's usually he's going
more
to
of a Houston guy, I guess.
He's his office is based out of Houston, so he's usually first in Houston sports. But
yes,
that doesn't mean he doesn't occasionally show up for our sports. And I'm like, God, stop it.
Pay him to go away, man.
Something. I wouldn't surprise me if I don't stop going to our sports.
With the Texas, with the Houston backing there, A&M's very close to Houston. He went to the Texas A&M Notre Dame game. A&M was a slight favorite, and that really made me feel very good about my Notre Dame pick as soon as I saw the picture of him arrive. I felt great. Knew I had him.
His own jets, because I need to be tracking his jet like Taylor Swift.
Oh, good point.
To see if he's going to a stadium, and that way I know.
16-2, man. Meaning Ted Cruz is 2-16.
That's
he is 2-16.
It's almost. I got to double check the Drake money line because I feel like Drake is similar, but I feel like he's
got more quantity there.
He has more quantity. He also will sit and it's usually when he bets for a team. He's usually pretty quiet about other things, but Drake's got some quantity there, but it's like the series versus his actual attendance. Ted Cruz has such an acute win-loss when he attends. It's like, okay.
And I, for one, I'm excited for the day when Josh is trying to figure out Ted Cruz's flight patterns and the FBI shows up to your house like, hey, what's going on here? And you're like, oh, no. We're good.
Oh, sorry. It's for
I'm just making
thing.
money. Yeah, it's a sports thing.
It's just a sport. It's
Don't worry
just
about
for
it.
gambling.
Yeah,
it's,
we're good.
It's fine.
Yep.
I needed him to stay senator for 6 more years so I can keep betting consistently.
Yeah,
He's
there you
up
go.
this year, and I'm like, come on, man, I need some consistency in my life.
Well, you know what? Him losing the senator title may not necessarily affect his record.
That's a great
now,
question.
maybe it does. Maybe it's this ridiculous
know.
redemption arc
Oh,
where now Sands...
Because his predecessor is at the seats. Because the seats could be cursed.
Ooh. There's layers to this.
There's layers to this. This could be fun.
We'll find out. We'll all find out together.
Yeah.
Next time Texas A&M or the Texans play, we will get to find out.
Now, we do need him to go to some
Or
Astros
Astros, I
games
guess.
because, Johnny, you have boldly proclaimed several times that the Astros will miss the playoffs this year.
They still will.
They're probably going to clinch a playoff spot in the next
They're
week. So-
pretty solid.
No, they're going to fall apart.
Okay. I hope you're right.
I hope you're right.
Seattle still got this. I believe
They're
in them.
only 5.5 games back in September.
Seattle's got
There's
this.
so much time.
So much time. For the Reds, too.
Yeah, they're only 9 games back right now of a wild card spot. So,
Hey, you know what 9 games isn't? 48.5 games back, like the White Sox are.
Yeah, how have we
as
not
of-
talked about? Well, we'll really get digging.
No,
into
we're gonna
at some
not.
point.
We're gonna keep talking
At
about it
some
because they
point,
are,
we'll talk about it.
as of
in
today,
depth.
31 and 108.
yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh.
By the way, the Reds are infuriating as a fan by almost
Yeah.
any metric you look at. The Reds at 7 games under 500, 9 games behind in the wild card, still have a run differential of plus 13. The 2 teams that are ahead of them, the Giants minus 20 and the Cardinals minus 58. And here we are. Anyways, just whatever. It's just, in some ways, I'm not going to say that.
at
I
least
almost
there's the
said in some
Guardians.
ways
No.
I wish I was the White Sox. I don't wish that upon anybody.
No,
Now that I'm
I,
with
I
them.
do. I wish we were the White Sox.
No,
Blow it
Johnny.
up.
At least
no,
it'd be
blow it up.
funny.
but this
If
is
we're
them
gonna be
blowing it
ba-
up. Johnny, this was
I'd
their attempt
rather
to blow
be-
it up.
I'd rather be worse than like terrible and not mediocre. I'm tired of mediocre. Tired of it. If we're gonna be bad, let's be historically bad. Let's make a mark on history.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, you heard it here first. Don't be just a little bad. Be the worst possible.
Be historically
Be
the
historically
worst team
terrible.
Action
since-
statement.
Don't
Be the worst
Don't be barely under 500. Be the worst team in the entire century and a half of the MLB's history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good action statement.
Be
Listeners,
so bad they're gonna make multiple 30 for 30s on you.
one for every loss. Hundreds of them.
Every-
That if you wondered where the rest of ESPN's budget is, if it's not paying Pat McAfee, it's 30 for 30s on the Chicago White Sox and how terrible they are. Listeners, thanks for being here. We appreciate you as always. Again, you can follow the show on your favorite podcast platform on YouTube. We're also on all your social media platforms that you're probably on. So if you're not following us already, I encourage you to do so. It's free. It helps support this show. And we provide lots of good content. We've got some content coming out about why we think Toledo could make a playoff, why Northwestern Stadium they're playing in is super unique, because we got to go behind the scenes of both. We've got other content along the way, which games are the best to watch on a Saturday, all the above. It's there. It's on our socials. So we appreciate you, and we appreciate the support you've already provided to us over there. So I think that wraps up this show. We will talk to you all next week. Enjoy the college football. Enjoy the NFL. Enjoy everything else. Enjoy hopefully some fall weather this week. And have a great rest of your week.